Hello and welcome to episode 2 of GnomeEnvoy, the gnome-based area-locked Ultimate Iron Man. For this episode we'll be focusing on taking down our biggest obstacle yet, the level 112 Khazard Warlord. This boss is the last thing standing in our way from unlocking spirit trees on the account, which will in turn open the door to a plethora of new content for us to explore. Our gear setup going into this fight is admittedly pretty underwhelming. A steel longsword with a whopping max hit of 5, and iron armor for the rest of it, pretty much. As such, we will be relying almost entirely on our inventory of potatoes with butter. Under ideal conditions, we would be safe spotting this boss with a bunch of Fire Strike runes like any other Iron Man. Unfortunately, we don't have a reliable source of runes near the Tree Gnome village, so we are forced to melee it. Our melee stats aren't exactly the most impressive. We have about base 30s all around, but I'm hoping that our inventory of potatoes will compensate for it.
Round 1, fight!
And as you might have predicted, our first attempt at the Khazard Warlord did not turn out very well at all. We ran out of food almost immediately and didn't hit anything on him. So that was a little demotivating, to say the least. After losing like the losery losers we are, we went to kill some zombies underneath the Tree Gnome village maze in hopes of training our melee stats to a respectable level and maybe even getting some of the uncommon rune drops from them. Thankfully, our efforts were rewarded as we obtained the first of many mind rune drops after 80 gazillion kills. Yeah, this could take a while. We did manage to get a clean 35 strength and 28 prayer in the same kill. I did manage to get myself the Iron Axe, which was the only non-rune item I wanted from these guys. And 40 strength, very nice level. 35 attack, and another prayer level coming in, 29 prayer. And here's a huge accomplishment in our zombie grind because we now have 100 wind strikes. This took far longer than I'd care to admit, and just to give you an idea of how long we've been here so far, we have over 500 fishing bait. I started picking those up just for the hell of it. 35 defense, and here we have one of like 3 Renarweed drops I've gotten so far, and I gotta say, this depresses me more and more each time I look at it. And there we have 40 attack. We can now wield rune weapons, and ladies and gentlemen, that's what I call foreshadowing. And there we go. So I wanted to stay here until I picked up a full stack of 1,000 fishing bait, just to kind of see where we got, and honestly, not bad. We ended up with 125 casts of Wind Strike, and pretty respectable melee stats all around. I do want to stay here until 40 defense though, just to even it out a bit. 40 hit points, and 40 defense. And with that, we are done with the zombies for now. There are a couple things I want to take care of real quick before taking on the Khazard Warlord again, so let's go do it. Since we will be starting out with 1 magic, I wanted to go ahead and get some better magic gear just to kind of improve our odds a little bit. So I took out some Monks of Zamorak until we got the full Zami robe set. Thankfully, it didn't take very long at all. Then I returned to our favorite place in all of RuneScape, the graveyard, and we picked up bones and buried them until we got 31 prayer for ultimate strength. I tried killing imps for a bit to see if we could get the final piece of mage gear to help us out with the fight. Unfortunately, I killed quite a few imps and just didn't get the drop, so I ended up giving up. Oh well. And now with all the preparation out of the way, it is time to take on the dreaded Khazard Warlord once again. With an inventory filled with potatoes with butter, as well as 135 casts of Wind Strike, along with base 40 melee stats all around, will we prevail this time, or will we suffer another humiliating defeat? It's time to find out. I decided to start the fight out with melee, flicking ultimate strength while we could until we ran out of prayer points, as well as about half of our food. I did manage to get him down by about 50 HP before switching over to mage. And let me just say, casting Wind Strike more than 100 times in one sitting was some of the most fun I've ever had playing old school RuneScape. There's just nothing quite as enjoyable as sudden onset carpal tunnel. But in all seriousness, this was a struggle. And the worst part of it was that it still wasn't enough to beat him. We ended up running out of runes when he was down to 39 HP, so we ended up having to try and melee him for the rest of it, and at that point we only had 4 potatoes left. And in retrospect, I probably could have tried flinching him a bit more, but honestly we were hitting so low that it felt kind of futile at this point. So we accepted our gentleman's defeat and found ourselves back at Lumbridge. So I had the idea to come down here underneath the Arania altar to kill these level 19 Zamorak crafters because they tend to drop a lot of runes. Unfortunately, no mind runes, which is kind of a hindrance, but I had an idea. Now, I've known for a while that these level 85 Zamorak warriors drop rune items, particularly the rune scimitar, but I never really considered that we were strong enough to take them on. But having failed twice now, what the hell? Why not? I'm willing to try anything at this point. Now, for most Iron Men trying to kill these guys for the rune scimitar, there is a safe spot you can mage them from, but that isn't an option for us. Thankfully, with an inventory of potatoes and some elbow grease, we can in fact melee them with a steel longsword. And there's our first kill. 100 coins. Could be worse. So a few kills in, and this chick logs in right near us and decides to attack the warrior we're fighting, which means that we don't get the kill. But if she's, you know, fighting these things at all, it probably means that she's also an Iron Man, which means she doesn't get the kill. So it's just kind of pointless for everyone, I guess. And there's 43 cooking from churning butter. 44 cooking from baking a potato. And if that isn't the upgradiest upgrade we have achieved so far on the account, Rune Dagger incoming at 12 kill count. I unfortunately didn't record the drop because I had just started playing. But, yeah, not the rune upgrade I was expecting, but still a pretty good one nonetheless. First kill using the Rune Dagger, and I gotta say, this thing cuts through these guys like butter. I mean, we're still hitting a lot of zeros, but overall, this is so much faster than the Steel Longsword. And there we have 45 cooking. We're kind of unintentionally doing a lot of cooking on this grind for the Rune Scimitar, but we are going to need 70 eventually for Recipe for Disaster, so I guess it's okay. Excuse me, Mr. Zamorak Warrior, sir, there seems to have been a mix-up. See, I asked for a Rune Scimitar, and you gave me a steel one. This is not going to do at all, but unfortunately you are dead. That's not what I wanted, but, hey, there's a successfully recorded Rune Dagger drop, in case you guys didn't believe me earlier. And there's a Steel Dagger, because Zamorak hates me. There's 46 cooking. We can now make fried mushrooms. And that's our third Rune Dagger. Nice boost to the cash stack. 47 cooking. We can now cook potatoes with butter and cheese. There's our first Adamant Longsword drop. It's nice to see, but I'm pretty sure that our Rune Dagger is still better, so we'll probably sell this. And there's our fourth Rune Dagger. Still no Rune Scimitar in sight. To be honest, it's getting kind of ridiculous at this point. Well, this is embarrassing. We actually died to a Zamorak warrior. Thankfully, we were able to run back in time to get our stuff and finish off the kill. Shit drop, though. Pretty clutch moment on the account. We just hit our first 20,000 GP cash stack, mostly from selling Rune Daggers, because that's all we seem to get. We just netted ourselves 10 fishing from the Evil Bob random event. Haven't fished a single thing on the account yet. 48 cooking, which means that we can now churn cheese to add to our baked potato. Died to yet another Zamorak warrior, this time just as the lizard was dealing the final blow. That's kind of unfortunate. Managed to get back in time to pick up the drop, but it was just coins. This right here is an excellent example of just how useful the cave lizards can be. We ran out of food and then got knocked all the way down to 4 HP. and we were almost done with the kill, so what we do is just hide in the safe spot and let the cave lizard do the rest. And here we get 3 farming from a genie lamp. Honestly, there isn't much benefit in using lamps on really any other skill, just because pretty much everything is easily trainable, and farming is going to be the most crucial skill to have later on in the account. I haven't shown this off yet, but in between kills I like to climb the ladder to pray at the altar, just because I like to have ultimate strength running at all times when killing these things, because any strength bonus helps, and it's a free XP boost. 49 cooking, we can now brew Axeman's Folly, except we can't because we can't access a brewery place. Yeah. Decided to try our hand at killing the Zamorak Rangers for a bit, just because their drop table could actually end up being pretty useful for us. The problem is, at least over here, the Zamorak Ranger is kind of in the middle of a bunch of other NPCs, and it's multi-combat, and they hit hard and fast, so it's not exactly viable right now. Decided to do some exploring and followed the ZMI maze all the way through, and found something pretty cool. There is a Zamorak Ranger all by his lonesome over here, which means we might actually be able to farm these things. Could be cool. Decided to go back to the zombie grind a bit, and got ourselves 44 strength, 45 strength, 46 strength, 47 strength, entirely too rare prayer level coming in, 32 prayer, and 48 strength. So now it's been a couple of hours, I'm completely bored of killing zombies, and we only have 55 wind strikes available to us. That's nowhere near enough to kill the Khazard Warlords, so let's just use them. Fuck it. Got ourselves 9 magic in the process. And just before we hit 10 magic, we are out of runes. Awesome. Okay, first time killing the Zamorak Ranger at this spot we discovered not too long ago. And immediately I can tell that the strength training we did over at Zombies has improved our hits quite a bit. And holy shit. We actually got the bowstrings. I thought I was gonna have to grind for these. This is the one thing that I wanted from Zamorak Rangers. Dare I say it, this changes everything. Now, before we can dive headfirst into fletching training, we need to get ourselves a knife. Thankfully, one spawns just inside the Yanil agility dungeon. First fletching level gained on the account, 20 woodcutting. This is a momentous occasion for the account. We just got 5 fletching, which means we can now make normal short bows and officially get started on training ranged. But we're not going to settle for a normal short bow. 30 woodcutting, we can now cut willow trees, which will be very important later on. And here we have 20 fletching. We can now make oak short bows. But that's still not enough. We need to go deeper. Just got ourselves a ruby ring from a bird's nest, and we are looking pretty fashionable if I do say so myself. 35 woodcutting, which means that we can cut teak trees, which we will eventually be able to do once we get access to Ape Atoll. And 25 fletching, we can now make oak longbows, which should increase our XP. And there we have 30 fletching, not too useful to us right now, but only 5 more to go. 41 woodcutting, which means that we can now use a rune axe, although I'm honestly not too sure if we can even get one of those on this account. I guess we'll see. And at long last, we finally have ourselves 35 fletching, which means that we can make ourselves the coveted willow shortbow, which is the best shortbow that we can get in this area, as far as I can tell. And finally, the moment we've been waiting for, we can craft ourselves the normal shortbow, oak shortbow, and the willow shortbow, which means that we could finally start training ranged on this account. So what's really nice about the Tree Gnome Village area is that we can actually purchase bronze arrows for just 1 GP each, which will make training ranged very easy to do. 5 ranged, we can now use our beautiful oak shortbow. That's pretty cool. We just got our first giant key on the account, which means, well, nothing really, because we can't even get to Obor, let alone have the stats to fight him, but still pretty cool to get. And there we go, that's the level we wanted. 20 ranged, which means that we can now wield the Willow Shortbow. Back at Zamorak Warriors, using the safe spot now, and we just got our 5th rune dagger. First time getting the lobster drop from Zamorak Warriors, that's kind of interesting. Rune dagger number 6. That certainly is something. 28 ranged, which means that we can now use the bone crossbow, which I think we might actually be able to get. I'm not entirely sure just yet. This is a reminder to never, ever give up on your dreams, kids. Rune Scimitar has been acquired. I don't even need to look at the stats on this thing to know that it is miles better than the Rune Dagger, but just for the hell of it, let's check it out. And that is a huge difference. Now then, while we are entering the final stages of our time here in the Tree Gnome Village area, there is one bit of unfinished business that we need to attend to. A great evil that has tainted the home of our gnome brethren for far, far too long. This heartless, skeletal bastard, General Khazard himself. Indeed, he is the commander of the very warlord that has tormented the gnome people. And while our stakes are not nearly as personal in this fight, I feel that Khazard's mere presence empowers the warlord to do as he pleases. First, we struck a crippling blow to Khazard's army by taking down one of his fiercest minions, a hulking brute of an ogre who, for some reason or another, could not quite figure out how to step around a pile of bones in order to attack us. After our demonstration of strength, General Khazard offered us a deal, to trade our freedom for that of 2 innocent humans. We of course agreed, and were thus thrown into the fight arena once again. Our next challenge was the Khazard Scorpion, and once again we took it down with ease. For whatever reason, it too decided to just kinda stand behind the skeleton while we shot arrows at it. Weird. After making quick work of 2 of his most powerful warriors, General Khazard was running low on options. And so he chose to send out his dear pet hellhound, known only as the Bouncer. Once again, our grand 2000 IQ strategy of standing behind a pile of bones prevailed, and the Bouncer was quickly defeated. Heartbroken and furious, General Khazard challenged us himself after agreeing to let the humans go. And seeing as he kept his end of the bargain, I saw no reason to reject his challenge. Sadly, even one of the great Majorat could not figure out how to walk behind a pile of bones. After clearing the land of a great evil, we claimed our reward. 42 attack and 29 thieving. But we still had one task left to complete. But first, we needed to gather some supplies. So, we made an inventory of the best food that we could make. The buttered potato with cheese. We milked the old one-eyed gnome for a bit to soothe our nerves before the battle. And we even got ourselves up to 50 cooking. We stand at the gates of Valhalla, armed with 25 potatoes, a willow shortbow, and a rune scimitar. This is our 3rd time attempting to defeat the Khazard warlord. We've even gone so far as to defeat his master, General Khazard himself. So, really, he's just a regular warlord now. A lord of nothing. So, let's go kick his ass. With every strike, I grow more confident, to the point that I think we might have overprepared a bit. Nevertheless, this time we do manage to deal the final blow, without even needing to use our bow. We reclaim the Orbs of Protection, and return them to their rightful home at the Tree Gnome Village. King Bolrin thanks me, and invites me to pay respects to the ancient spirit tree that protects the gnome people. He gives us the Gnome Amulet of Protection, which we will wear with pride in the days to come. The experience gained from defeating the warlord boosts us all the way to 44 attack. But perhaps, most importantly, we can now use spirit trees to travel all across Gilnor. The possibilities for this account have now opened up exponentially. But first things first, are we doing the Season 2 thing or what? As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Next episode will be almost entirely about exploring the new areas we can get to, so stay tuned. Bye-bye.